Start today with a presentation from Mona Fraitag. Our nation, everybody's talking about moving, starting to get back to work. And people, today I was speaking to somebody and they said they have a friend in Georgia and the restaurants are crowded, the shopping centers are crowded, and people don't realize we still have a pandemic. And if people aren't careful and they don't practice social distancing, it's going to be as bad or even worse than the first wave. And it would be appropriate to start the meeting by scaring everybody. And I really want people to, we hope that people take this seriously when everything opens up. If you're not careful, or your loved one could get the illness, or you could infect somebody else that you're speaking to. So Mona Fraitag overcame the odds. She had COVID. She had a very bad experience, and Mona is also a member of the planning board. When I found out that she had this a few weeks ago, she wasn't even able to speak. So Mona, maybe you could tell us a little bit about your experiences with COVID.
Hi, Paul. Thank you for having me here today. I realized I had COVID about 7-8 weeks ago. My husband, unfortunately, had to have emergency surgery just as COVID was breaking out. And he went into the hospital, had surgery, and immediately after surgery, they pushed him out of the hospital because they were overrun with COVID patients and they really didn't have room. They sent him home. When he came home from the surgery, he was very fatigued, which we figured was from the surgery. He was achy. We figured it was from the surgery. He was running a slight fever. We thought it was from the surgery. He was on heavy duty antibiotics. His stomach was upset. We figured it was from the surgery. And lo and behold, he had picked up a case of COVID in the hospital, we believe. And he was only sick for a few days, but after he started to get well, I started to feel not so well. Unfortunately, I am in my mid to late 60s. And I'm also what they refer to as a moderately severe asthmatic. So I was in not such a great position to be exposed to COVID. And when I was exposed to it, I got it much more severely than my husband had it. When I realized that my breathing was compromised, I reached out to my physician. My regular physician is a pulmonologist because I have asthma. So I was able to use a machine that I have at home that reads how I'm breathing. It records how much air I can push into my lungs. I took a reading, and where my regular reading would be 650, I was only able to push in 350, which is about half of the normal amount. So I called my doctor and I said, I think I have COVID. I'm only able to push 350 and I have a very bad headache and I am running to the bathroom, and my husband wasn't feeling so well. And in retrospect, I think he had COVID. And the doctor said, yeah, sounds like it. What do I do? And pretty much nothing. They didn't really have much to tell me. I couldn't take any over-the-counter drugs for the diarrhea. I couldn't take anything but Tylenol for the headache. I couldn't take any of my usual medications for the asthma. I was able to take some medications in my nebulizer to help with the breathing. But the biggest thing that he told me was to try to stay out of the hospital for as long as I possibly could. And he gave me a number on my breathing machine. He said, if you drop below 200, you have to go to the hospital. Do whatever you possibly can to stay above that, because if you can stay home and manage this, you'll be good. If you go to the hospital, we just don't know. There's so many people in the hospital and it's so hard to manage. You have to stay above this. So day by day, we did virtual visits and it got worse and it got worse and it got worse. And the numbers slipped all the way to 220. From 350, I dropped to 220 and my husband cried. And I laid in bed and I couldn't move. I couldn't move. And every day, Paul, you would call and I couldn't talk and you would speak to my husband. And people would call and I couldn't talk. I hung up on them. I would text. And I couldn't move. I just couldn't move. And it was so hard. I didn't know if I was going to ever speak with my friends again. And my husband would cry and say, you have to get up today. You have to get up. You have to get dressed. You have to get up. It's another day. You have to get up. And on top of everything else, they had sent him home and I had to give him intravenous injections with antibiotics because there were no nurses around. All the nurses were in the hospital helping people with COVID. And I couldn't get a nurse for my husband to give him IVs. And I tried to get a nurse to help my husband and we couldn't get a visiting nurse. No one would come to the house. So I was giving my husband IVs and I had COVID and he had COVID and people would come to the house and they would drop off food. They would drop off toilet paper. And he came out of it first and then little by little I came out of it. And it's 9 weeks and today's the first day I was able to walk outside my house. Today's the first day I was able to walk outside my house. So it's not a joke. It's not a joke. It's not a game. It's beautiful weather. I watched the weather cold. I watched it rain. I cried in my house. I thought I would never be able to see anything. And I see people riding their bicycles and I see them going for ice cream and I watch TV when I could. But it's not a joke. You wear the mask, you wash your hands, you wear the gloves, you stay apart from each other because you can get it and not know you have it. You can be giving it to your grandparents, to your parents, to a young child. This is not a joke. This is not a joke. It's not the flu. It's not a cold. It's not a joke.
Could you tell us a little bit about what you were doing with Bradley?
Bradley is my dog. My dog is a therapy dog that works in the Greenburgh school system and at the Greenburgh library. Kids read to him. They learn to read by reading to Bradley. When I first realized I was getting sick, my dog depends on me and I manage his medications. So the first thing I did was write down his list of medications because my husband doesn't know them. And I'm like, if I get sick and go to the hospital, what will happen to the dog? The dog will die. My husband doesn't know his medications. So I wrote his list of medications down. I stuck it by his food. And I went and I moved into the guest room. So this way, if something happened to me, at least Bradley wouldn't die. That's what I did.
Well, thank you very much for, thank you very much for, highlighting your experiences. And, we really want people in the town to recognize it's not a joke. They have to take it, seriously. Jared Rosenberg has mentioned at board meetings that your unit, Jared, has seen what is like over 30 people, residents of unincorporated, lose their lives. That you're aware of?
Definitely. There's been, I can't tell you for a fact how many, but there's definitely well over 30 people, and many people in nursing homes, the elderly, are extremely taking a big hit, throughout all the homes in Greenburgh.
Right, and it's really just, horrible. So just be careful. That's the motto for this evening. And I want to thank you, Mona, for joining us tonight. Thank you for your involvement on the planning board.
Thank you, Paul. I remember calling you at one point and crying and saying, are you going to fire me from the planning board if I can't make a meeting? I must have been really out of my mind.
I said we
Thank you
wouldn't
for not
fire you.
firing me. I
said
do
we
remember
would-
you saying you were going to cut my pay in half at one point.
Yeah, because it's zero.
Zero.
Right. But we're
Thank
glad
you.
you're better, Mona. We're really glad you're better.
Thank you, Diana. Am I still getting my pay cut in half?
No, absolutely not.
No.
We're going to double it. We'll double it for you.
Okay,
Jared-
thank you.
Give you a
Jared
100% increase.
Rosenberg is the head of the CSEA. So if the planning board joins the union, then you would have a chance of getting an increase.
Oh, double, right? Triple. I'll get triple zero.
We'll provide you some protection, Mona.
Thank you, Jared.